Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We get the people what they want.
From Saturday Night Live and that damn Michael Che. It is Michael Che joining us later in the program, but we start with the most important player for the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, talks about his availability for tonight's must-win Game 4. Here is what Wardell had to say.
I'm going to play. That's all I know right now. Get as much recovery and healing as possible. Understand how important Game 4 is, and I'm excited about the opportunity. Because I went through what I went through at the end of the regular season and coming back, I know exactly what it is and what I got to deal with. And there's, I guess, comfort knowing I've been through it before, but also you'd rather not have to deal with something like that.
Jalen Rose with Steph Curry not 100%. The Warriors with a must-win Game 4 in Boston. What do you expect from Steph?
I expect him to play. I expect him to be effective. And if you look back at the building of the Golden State Warriors dynasty, as I'll call it, it started with injury. When Steph Curry was early in his career, that allowed the team to give him a lesser deal to build out the roster. And that became a championship team that also had another season that won 73 games. You add a Kevin Durant to that situation, you win 2 more championships. KD leaves, Klay gets hurt, Steph deals with injury, Draymond deals with injury, and then Bob Myers, drafting, Steve Kerr, player development with his staff, and before you know it, you add a Wiggins as you parlay D'Angelo Russell. You continue to build throughout the draft, and you add Jordan Poole. Gary Payton II becomes a rotation player, and Kuminga and Wiseman, who's not even playing for this team. And so now all of a sudden when Steph is healthy, you put him back into this team, they're in the NBA Finals. And so we've seen Steph earlier in the year deal with this kind of injury when Marcus Smart dove into his leg and he got injured. Steve Kerr said he could have continued to play in the previous game, but he took him out because they were getting waxed. I feel like once he puts on his uniform like everybody else in the NBA Finals that's dealing with bumps and bruises and aches and pains, I feel like he's going to be ready to go. And like I tell you, Jacoby, it's something they do in these professional locker rooms of players. You can see him walking in looking like Fred Sanford. I've been there, man. I remember times when I was playing in Chicago, I'll never forget this. I was walking down the stairs and I could barely stand up. I went out that night and had over 30. They gave me some stuff. I was like, oh, thank you very much. That's what I believe is going to also take place if Steph needs any kind of pain killing or shot, which I don't believe he's going to have to take. But I do anticipate he's going to be aggressive and effective. And here's also why.
Why?
When he said he understands the importance of Game 4, let me tell you a little bit more what he means. If they lose Game 4, he knows they're going to lose the series.
Yep.
That's basically what he knows. That's what Klay knows, too. You see what Klay was like, hey, we hope he plays. If he plays, we know if he doesn't play, then it's going to be extremely tough to win this series. So I'm expecting a good game. I'm actually expecting the best and the best play in the closest game that this series has had so far.
Well, the Warriors are going to need Steph Curry to be his best, but they're also going to need other contributors as well. Draymond Green has such an impact on Game 2. We spent so much time talking about the antics and what he does off the ball and all the hustle plays he makes. Game 3, he did not have a good game. He spoke about the mindset going into Game 4. Here's Draymond Green.
It's just about me finding that balance. And just like I said on my podcast, being Draymond Green. I know how to be him better than I can be anyone else. I know how to be him better than anyone else can be him. So I just got to be myself.
Jalen, 15 points in the series, 15 fouls in the series. How can Draymond get back to being the impactful player making winning plays for the Warriors?
Yeah, those numbers are super ugly. I think Houdini had a song say, last night I had a long talk with myself. That's what it sounds like for me with Draymond. And you're right, Jacoby. It was a tale of 2 games, how he had such an impact when the Warriors won, and yet it was the reverse when they lost. But here's what also has to happen. he has to be some sort of threat offensively.
Yep.
See, if I'm Ime Udoka, I'm telling my team, please keep the turnovers down. Please make them play against our half-court defense, where there are no weaknesses on our defense, number one. And number two, we can sag off of Draymond. We can play 5 defenders versus 4 offensive players in a lot of help situations. And so for Draymond, yes, the defense is going to be there, I believe. I don't think he's going to do anything to get himself ejected. And I do think his points, rebounds, and assists are going to be more than 10 in this game. But what I really hope happens is that he's aggressive when he gets opportunities to score. Because if you just do some simple math, if Steph, Clay, and Poole all have 25, that's 75. In the last game, they scored, 107, 108? You're still going to need some front court players. Wiggins, Otto Porter, Looney, Draymond Green. You're going to need those guys to give you some offense. And Draymond can also be somebody that helps his team in that area also.
Key front court player for the Boston Celtics, Robert Williams III, has been in and out of the lineup all playoffs long. He's been hobbled. He looked good in Game 3. How important is it that he can be the same Robert Williams III we had in Game 3 and Game 4?
You know what I like about pieces in one big chess game? We're going to talk about the stars, Jalen and Jason. We're going to talk about the Splash Brothers and Draymond. But I don't think the Celtics win this series without Robert Williams' contribution going forward.
Facts.
He's that impactful. His height, his ability to change shots, block shots, a lob threat. And he is hobbled, as you mentioned. But the crowd and the team gets charged up when he does a rejection like that. And look, giving him some offense, Jacoby, hanging on the rim with 2 hands. Giving him a little short offensive rebound. Look at that height. Using it over the defender and getting the offensive rebound. Look, that's height, Jacoby.
Yep.
That's why they drafted Wiseman, to play against guys like this. But since he can't go, Draymond Green and Looney have to be up to the task. But again, it's great to see Robert Williams out there performing the way he does. That's why I'm glad we're giving him some love.
Well, you said if you were Ime Udoka, you would tell the Celtics to limit the turnovers. Well, guess what Ime Udoka said about the Celtics? He wants them to limit their turnovers. Here's the head coach.
As far as the turnovers, we understand what our record is when we do and don't. And, you know, the run that they had in the first half was due to that. You know, a poor shot, we missed some free throws, but 2 of those were turnovers. And other than that stretch there, we had done a really good job in the first half. So 8 isn't terrible. We like to keep it under 15, so it was an emphasis going into halftime. And to only have 4 in the second half was huge, obviously, especially when they're making a run. At least you're not aiding it by letting them get on the break.
He mentioned the number 15 because 15 is the magic number when it comes to Celtics turnovers. When they have less than 50 turnovers, 13-2 in the playoffs. When they have more than 50 turnovers, 1-5 in the playoffs. What can they do to limit turnovers?
The Celtics have no weaknesses defensively. So if you're forced to play against their half-court defense each time, that's a tough way to get points. And he knows it, you know it, and I know it. And in the previous game that they lost, not only did they have 18 turnovers, 15 of those were steals. So now when you're getting steals, you're really out in the open floor making plays. Now here's the reverse. The Golden State Warriors third quarter squad did do what they do and played big in the previous game. However, the fourth quarter Celtics are now a thing in this series because they're plus 40. And in that fourth quarter, it was the Golden State Warriors turning the basketball over, not the Boston Celtics. And Ime understands that clearly.
Yeah, the fourth quarter Celtics, we always look at the offense, but they held the Warriors to 11 points in the fourth quarter in Game 3, and you are not going to win a game, especially in the finals, if you only score 11 points in the fourth quarter. Their defense is phenomenal. Jalen, latest episode of The Shop, streaming exclusively on the Uninterrupted YouTube channel. LeBron James dropped a bomb. Here's what he said about potentially owning a team in Las Vegas.
I want to own a team.
Buy a team?
Yeah, I want to buy a team.
That's it.
For sure.
There you go.
Buying a team and then talking is a little tricky. If you own the team and like...
Yeah, I would much rather own a team before I talk. I want a team in Vegas.
Good for you.
Oh, my God.
I want the team in Vegas.
Now, Jalen, Adam Silver said there are no discussions about expansion or a team in Vegas. However, I heard it first from Bill Simmons, the Podfather, that this is a real thing. Perhaps a team in Las Vegas, a team in Seattle, and now LeBron James says he wants to own a team in Las Vegas. Jalen, could you see that coming to fruition?
I'm not mad if a team is in Vegas. First off, I would love to see LeBron James own a team. So let me just say that first. The second thing I want to say is, if we're adding teams, right now we have 30. So now if we're saying we're going to add 31, 32 teams, as you just mentioned, I think that's going to dilute the product. I'm happy to see more people play in the league and have NBA jobs. But if you look at the elite players in the game, right, they're spread thin right now. They're spread thin right now. When you look at each roster, you hope to have an all-star level player on each team, somebody that can trend towards being all NBA, somebody that can lead their team to a championship. Those players are already in the league. Those guys are already playing in the league. So it'll be interesting to see if a team that exists right now ends up moving to Vegas, moving to Seattle, but the expansion of the NBA and having more teams, I just don't know if that's something that's viable and it's something that's realistic over the next few years or so.
I would love to see LeBron James own a team. It's no secret that the NBA needs to diversify the ownership group amongst the league. Now, Jalen, you made a really good point about the delusion of the talent pool. So I have a solution. Let's take the Pistons and put them in Vegas. That's all we got to do. We'll take the Pistons, we'll put them in Vegas. The Las Vegas Pistons. That's as simple as that, Jalen Rose. It's as